All right, everybody, welcome back. Excuse me, Daily Hawk. I'm Hawk. I'm your host. It's about 11 a.m. West Coast time on Sunday, December 15th. Couple things before I dive into the news. Obviously, the big story yesterday was ABC News settling a defamation lawsuit that had been brought against them and George Stephanopoulos. They settled that case for $16 million, paying $15 million to a library or foundation for Trump and paying $1 million of his attorney's fees. I was going to talk about that here. I'm doing an entirely separate video about that because I have a lot of things to say about that. So that's going to be a separate video because there's too much. There's just too much. It's too much capitulation by the 1%, by the media, by CEOs, by tech. They're obeying in advance, 5 weeks before Trump even takes office, in direct contravention to rule number 1 of Timothy Snyder's book on tyranny. Rule number 1: do not obey in advance. So that's going to be a separate episode. So let's dive into the stuff we're going to talk about today. Racy photos discovered of Bashar al-Assad discovered after his fall. Syrian dictator President Bashar al-Assad, personal photos of a personal nature, racy photos of him have been found in abandoned residences that were his while he was still serving as dictator, sparking ridicule among Syrians who until days ago were persecuted for criticizing his carefully crafted public image. The intimate and candid photos reportedly discovered in albums. So I guess he printed them and put them in photo albums, boomer. They found photo albums in his mansions of him doing things of an intimate, candid, and personal nature. Let your imaginations run wild with that. Ron DeSantis may defy Donald Trump on the Florida Senate vacancy. Marco Rubio, Florida senator, is going to be Donald Trump's Secretary of State. That leaves a vacant Senate seat for the state of Florida. With the Senate, governors get to appoint a replacement for the remainder of that senator's term. Whereas in the House, if there are vacancies, the governor doesn't get to do that. They hold special elections for House seats. So Ron DeSantis gets to handpick whoever's going to fill Marco Rubio's seat for the remainder of little Marco's term. Donald Trump and his allies desperately want Marco Rubio to fill that seat with Trump's daughter-in-law, bad auto-tune singer Lara Trump, former head of the RNC. Ron DeSantis, it sounds like, would like to pick someone who might be, competent. So we'll see how that develops. Kamala Harris is contemplating a run for California governor. Sure, why not? I mean, I supported her campaign. I love Kamala. The Democratic Party itself, we gave them $1.5 billion, and they couldn't beat this guy. Are you kidding me? So I will vote for her if she runs for governor, and I wish her all the luck in the world in trying to fundraise for that campaign. I'm still getting fundraising emails from the last one. How fast can Donald Trump enact his 2025 agenda? So I've read a couple of these articles, and people are approaching it from the standpoint of everything's normal. How would this happen in a normal term, in a normal period of time where everything is normal? Everything is not normal. I mean, you've got Trump and his allies legitimately calling United States senators, Republican senators, and threatening them if they don't support Trump's cabinet picks. They are being threatened. So these are most definitely not normal times. But I think the broader question is Trump's first 100 days. It's like that's just a thing that we do in the United States. A new president is coming in. What are you going to do during your first 100 days? Oh, the first 100 days are the most important of the entire term. You got to have a big agenda for the first 100 days. What's going to happen during the first 100 days? Well, here now, this time around, the first 100 days, if Trump wants to get anything done, it's going to have to be mainly by executive order because of the House of Representatives. Democrats actually gained a seat in the last election. Republicans lost one. The margin for Republicans in the House following the election is 220 for Republicans, 215 for Democrats. There are 435 seats. 50% of that is 217.5. So you need, round that up, you need 218 seats just to have an actual majority, one seat. Because Matt Gaetz resigned to go into Trump's cabinet, and Trump picked two other Republican House members to serve in his cabinet, Republicans are going to have 217 seats for the first 100 days. That's not even a majority of 218. And Democrats have 215. So Republicans can't afford to lose a single vote on anything. And they're saddled with people like Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Jim Jordan and James Comer and the Freedom Caucus whack jobs. They couldn't get anything done in the last Congress when they had a bigger majority than they have going into this Congress. The first 100 days of Trump's presidency are going to be an absolute mess for that reason. It's going to be an absolute clown show. It just is, because of Republicans in the House, not because of anything that Democrats are going to do. Trump has selected Devon Nunes, a former member of Congress, to serve as chairman. He was former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, tried to delegitimize the Trump-Russia investigation during the first 2 years of Trump's first term. And now he's going to head up the President's Intelligence Advisory Board. Cool. It bears, Devon Nunes is currently CEO of Truth Social, Trump's social media platform. And it's 300,000 users or whatever the hell it has. Devon Nunes once sued a fictional cow on Twitter. There was a Twitter account called Devon Nunes's Cow that exposed all kinds of things about Devon Nunes's actual family farm practices and things like that, and made fun of him. It made fun of him to a point that it made Devon Nunes angry, and so Devon Nunes sued a fictional cow. However, on the serious side of things, former U.S. Attorney Barbara McQuaid was on MSNBC or something this morning, and she referred to Devon Nunes being nominated to head a President's Intelligence Advisory Board is a shocking, astonishing, disturbing, fill in your descriptor conflict of interests. As chairman, Nunes will have access to all of the intelligence that is gathered by the intelligence community. Think Tulsi Gabbard. The idea that he is supposed to be the president's eyes and ears over the intelligence community with that information and simultaneously serving as the CEO of Truth Social is an astonishing conflict of interest. It means he would have the ability to post things he shouldn't know about, but also, as Rick Wilson points out, the fact that Truth Social receives funding from foreign governments, while they are also the targets of our intelligence agencies. So I'm sure that is going to be just fine. It'll work out. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about at all. Universities are telling their international students to return to campus early before January 20th inauguration because of Stephen Miller, I guess. 84-year-old Nancy Pelosi, who recently filed her paperwork for re-election in 2026 after working behind the scenes to oust 81-year-old Joe Biden this past July from the presidential race, is on a trip to Europe. She fell on Friday, sustained a serious injury to her hip, and received an emergency hip replacement after falling during a congressional trip to Luxembourg. She's 84 years old, man. For over 20 years, I live in Marin now, but I lived in San Francisco. I lived in Nancy Pelosi's district. She has been the most effective Speaker of the House of our lifetimes. And as with every other politician, she has dramatically overstayed her welcome. She's 84 years old, just had an emergency hip replacement. She just got reelected, so she hasn't even been sworn into her next 2-year term yet, and has already refiled to run again in 2026 for her next. Donald Trump Jr. is trying to impress his father with his new girlfriend. Because that's what you want to do when you're in your 50s. He recently broke up with Kimberly Guilfoyle, in favor of Palm Beach socialite Bettina Anderson, who apparently is extremely wealthy, dates only wealthy men. Apparently she's very attractive. She's a former model and is very popular in West Palm Beach society. So Donald Trump Jr. in his early 50s, still desperately seeking the approval of a father who doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself. Kash Patel is likely to be confirmed, according to reporting behind the scenes in the Senate. He's meeting with senators. He's looking forward to those confirmation hearings. Boy, howdy, I am looking forward to those confirmation hearings too. I hope that one Democrat has a copy of Kash Patel's book, The Plot Against the King, and another Democrat has a copy of Kash Patel's second book, The Plot Against the King 2, 2,000 Mules. Those are children's books, animated children's books that Kash Patel wrote for children. The first one being about the Steele dossier, the second one being about how the 2020 election was stolen from Donald Trump. He wrote those books for children. And I hope that Democrats just read passages from those two books during the confirmation hearings that will be aired live on television. That reminds me, when I was a kid, my mom was a volunteer at the Columbus Zoo, and I volunteered there one summer in the reptile house. It was amazing. It was one of the best experiences of my life. And they had a bunch of animals that they would take around to different schools and classrooms and things like that. And so that kids could see animals that they don't normally see every day. One of those animals was a possum named Minnie. And Minnie was very old. And because she was very old, her back legs were paralyzed. And she had this condition where she had fatty deposits behind her eyes that pushed her eyes kind of outward and just made her look like super bug-eyed all the time. And every time I see Kash Patel, I think of Minnie the possum. We ended up adopting Minnie because they were going to euthanize her. So my mom swiped her, brought her home. And so Minnie lived in my room for a couple years, and I used to take her for walks in the woods. But Kash Patel looks like a bug-eyed possum. Anyway, big banks are donating huge amounts of money, like Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, to Donald Trump's inaugural fund, which is an unregulated slush fund that Mark Zuckerberg has given $1 million to, Jeff Bezos has given $1 million to, Sam Altman of OpenAI has given $1 million to. It's unregulated, and there are no reporting requirements. And big banks are donating big money to that. And then yesterday we saw the news that Donald Trump is considering getting rid of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, which for the bottom 90% of us, that protects our money on deposit in banks in case banks do things that are squirrely and piss away our money. Trump is thinking about doing away with that now. So it's going to be explicitly a quid pro quo presidency from here on out. And that's just the deal. A bright spot in the news, South Korea's president was impeached following his little folly of declaring martial law because he doesn't like the other side. Somebody asked me in the comments, can Donald Trump be impeached as soon as he is sworn in? And the answer to that question is yes, he can be. You can take everything that's come out about him over the last 4 years, his criminal convictions, his indictments, all of those things can serve as the bases for new articles of impeachment. We'll close out with this. Lack of self-awareness, outrage as Trump posts fat-shaming photo of Chris Christie. And this was ridiculous. So we've got the drones flying over New Jersey. Donald Trump posted a meme of a very corpulent, engorged Chris Christie stuffing McDonald's in his face. And these drones were showing up carrying bags of more McDonald's food. Donald Trump is morbidly obese and loves McDonald's. Yeah, lack of self-awareness in Trump for posting that. All right, thanks everybody for watching this episode. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our page. Click a like on the video, leave a comment, even if it's a shitty one. But please engage with our content. It helps us grow our page, and I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their Sunday. Be safe.